All right, everyone, welcome to our special Conversations with Love live here. We'll be up with just one moment. Just got to pay some bills before we get going.
Alberta is blessed with a wide variety of high-quality sports, rich with talented athletes and successful franchises in all levels in any sport. We aim to tell those stories. The Win Column Sports Network was created with one goal in mind, providing professional level coverage of semi-professional franchises, athletes, and organizations in Edmonton. We believe Edmonton can stand proudly behind our moniker of the City of Champions. This city has been home to multiple AJHL championships, a two-time WCBL semifinalist, numerous WWE signed independent wrestlers, and many more success stories.
This is Shane, Hurricane Helms.
Hey guys, this is TJ Wilson, aka Tyson Kidd.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Almighty Christopher Daniels.
Stories you can only find on the Win Column Sports Network.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Above Average Visit with PWA Tag Team Champion and Storm Wrestling grad alumni Aiden Adams. And I love how my computer just froze up for a second here. Just give it a sec for the software to catch up here. Really? The software literally just froze up. Give me one sec here. Yeah, no, I'll be adding some bells and whistles later. I'm just gonna reload it and we'll go. I love.
Man.
I feel like you should like shape.
Right.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys, I hate to interrupt, but I finally got the technical glitches out. We are live here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Perfect.
It's time for our above average visit, which we're definitely going to get more above average here with PWA Tag Team Champion Aiden Adams. Now, here's your host with the most, Spencer Love.
Mike, one of these days we're going to have to look at the pay scale on this here production unit and maybe talk about raises and or pay cuts. However, that is for later. This is now, hello friends, welcome to CWLL Conversations with Love Live. I'm your host, Spencer Love, as Mike so beautifully put it. Joined now by the Above Average Joe's PWA Tag Team Champion, Aiden Adams. Aiden, man, it is great to have you on here. We were talking while we were setting this up. It's pretty well been 1 year to the day since you and I actually first got organized as far as any sort of interview, conversation, whatever you want to call it, outside of you and I just shooting the shit and having a beer. So we figured we'd take it back to the roots. I enjoying a beverage, yourself enjoying a beverage, and enjoying some conversation with one of the premier wrestlers in Western Canada. How are you doing, man? How is the COVID-19 pandemic treating the tag team champ?
Oh man, I just love the way you like describe me. Can you move in with me? Like, we just walk around, just have you like talk about me all day?
Your personal hype, man? Absolutely,
yes,
man.
Yes.
I would be happy to do
For
it.
sure.
I'll even just record something so that if you want it
absolutely.
before you guys come out.
For my alarm, maybe when I wake up in the morning, so just like excited to get up.
Good morning, Aiden. But keeping well?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. You know, just trying to stay safe and trying to wash my hands, as they say on television to do, and, you know, keeping clean. And, you know, it is what it is. You can't really fight it. It's It's a pandemic. Nothing you can really do about it. So,
110%, man. It
Yeah.
is what it is. I feel like everybody, when I start a conversation with them, whether it's an interview or anything outside of it, it's like, how are you doing? I'm good, all things considered. But outside of no professional wrestling shows to go to, great to have you on here. Great to be able to catch up on the professional wrestling. And to be quite honest with you, man, gives me a little bit less research to have to do as far as it goes for what you've been up to over the last couple of months. But for anybody who hasn't had the chance to catch up on perhaps what you've done as far as professional wrestling goes, had a chance to come out to a PWA show or any of the promotions that you're working for across Western Canada, maybe just give a bit of a background as to who Aiden Adams is.
well, Aiden Adams is an above average Joe. I have a tag team with one of the best people on the planet. His name's Kenny Stryker. Me and him are tag team champions. We're 3-time tag team champions, and it's been such an awesome run with him. And oh man, it's just hard to describe. Like the chemistry me and him have it's just amazing. And speaking of tag teams, that shirt of yours, I don't know, we might have to burn it or something here.
Hey man, look, we told you right off the bat, I don't have any above average Joe's merchandise. I wanted to support the tag team scene here. I unfortunately don't, and it's a good problem to have right now. Anytime that I've gone to organize getting one from Mr. Adams here, he sold them out at the merch table. So at the very least, it is a good reason that I do not have one of the above average Joe's headbands. However, I'd suggest getting one if you do not have one yourself. Aiden, maybe just in the general sense, you and I, every time we chat, we talk about the tag team scene here in Alberta. We talk about just like what a great scene we have, for lack of a better way to put it. Maybe take me a little bit through your experience working with the tag teams here in Western Canada.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I've only kind of wrestled the people in PWA when it comes to tag teams, because there's the league, and then there's Gabriel and
Mephisto.
Sorry, my mom was calling me. Is everything
okay? No, you betcha we're good to go. Sorry, Mrs. Adams.
So, wrestling Gabriel and Mephisto, and wrestling the league, and there's the Millennial Rebels as well. I've only kind of worked them, but I've really wanted to expand into the other companies and maybe try out Top Talent, and what's Cody Chimera's tag team again? Him and Maverick Jack. What are they called again? They were
the artists formerly known as Dirty Inc. I believe they're going by the Malicious Militia now, if my memory serves me correct.
Yeah. Because we were supposed to work them for Clandestine, and then Maverick Jack couldn't make it, and then we had Chris Parrish.
Yeah, man. What an experience that was, though. What was it like for you being a part of the actual in-ring stuff as far as Clandestine goes? Because as a fan, as a guy who's never been in the ring, to be quite honest with you, man, that may have been the coolest professional wrestling show I've ever been to.
You know what? That show was incredible, but from my experience, I know for a fact I had the worst card on that, or worst match on that card. I
liked it.
Oh, thank you. I know that all four of us could have just done way, way better. And the show was incredible. The production was amazing, and all the guys were really good. Like, aside from my match, I thought everything else went really well. I just, when we had that much kind of social media attention, and we hit number 3 trending on Twitter in Canada and all that kind of stuff, for the country to see that match for me is just, I was embarrassed. It could have been way, way better, and it just wasn't.
Well,
but on all the show.
Let's just throw a caveat in there. You might have been number 3 in Canada, but number 1 and 2, it was the same night as a McGregor fight. So let's just.
Right.
Realistically, you guys were number 1 in Canada.
I thought you were going to throw something cheesy, like you were number 3 in Canada, but number 1 in our hearts.
Yeah.
That's all I was hoping for. But I guess, you mentioned that maybe you weren't as happy as you could have been with the match, but just being the opening match on, like you said, a card that got so much attention throughout Canada, does it mean a little bit extra to you?
It does. I kind of wish it was the original. I know Maverick Jack couldn't make it, but Chris Parrish was a good fit for the replacement, but it would have been good to actually have the proper Dirty Ink or whatever they're called nowadays, and that would have been really awesome. I know there was a small little rumor that they were gonna try to get Kamikaze to wrestle me, and I was excited for that. And then I guess he said no, and I'm like,
Ouch. Well, maybe
That's
not
all right.
Kamikaze.
That's
We're still waiting on Kamikaze. We are still, unfortunately, waiting on David Arquette to come to Edmonton and wrestle Aiden Adams. Have you watched the documentary that they put out on him?
I saw the trailer. I definitely got to watch the documentary, though.
Oh,
Like,
dude, cool as shit. It is so good because, you know, and I was even listening back to the interview we did a year ago right here on the WCSN. But when we were talking about it, I think that a lot of people did sort of underappreciate what he does for professional wrestling. When you and I were talking, like, what went into his WCW title reign is pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I would still love to, because like the guy loved wrestling forever, and then just decided at whatever, I think mid 40s he's in now, he just decided, you know what, I'm going for it. And he's going hard, man. These death matches, and I
was gonna say, he got like full on cut wrong with a light tube, and you may know better than me. I don't know if you've ever been in like any sort of death match situation.
Oh, God no. You know.
Oh man, but like I don't know what the spot was. Apparently he was working with a light tube, and they were choking him out with it at some point, and it broke incorrectly, or they cut him incorrectly with it. So like he was bleeding out. He grabbed his neck. Get this, man. He goes back into the ring. They do the finish, and then he goes to the hospital.
Jesus Christ.
Like realizes,
That's
okay,
insane.
I'm not going to die in the next like 30 seconds or so. Get back, nail the finish out. Let's get the hell to the hospital.
The show must go on, hey? Like, oh, man.
Absolutely, man. Oh, absolutely. Now, we talked about Arquette as part of a bucket list match for you, or dream match. I hate the phrase, but dream match for you. One thing I'd have to assume may have been on the bucket list, or may have subconsciously been on the bucket list, that I love talking to people about when they've had the opportunity, such as the PWA guys did last year. What was it like for you to work at the Saddle Dome?
Oh, man. Like, you just made me smile thinking about it. It was sweet, man. Like,
Yeah.
I've never experienced like that, like anything like that in my life. You know, you're backstage and you're in an arena, and it's just, oh man, just thinking about it now just kind of gives me chills. Like, oh, that was probably my favorite show of the year, probably for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's something to even just like in a couple of years talk about. Like, we were the only company to ever have a show at the Saddle Dome aside from the WWE.
Yeah.
You know, it's incredible.
Absolutely.
And I love that match too. I watched it over like a couple times, like maybe last week, and I really enjoyed that match too. So it was awesome.
Yeah, man, and it sort of ties into what I wanted to ask you next is obviously winning the Tag Team Championships in the Saddle Dome, I'd have to assume is definitely a highlight for sure. But as far as your 3 times you've won the PWA Tag Team Championships, is that perhaps the most meaningful? Some people I've talked to have said, yeah, the first is always the best, you know. What's your experience as far as that goes?
My favorite was the second run.
Okay.
Because the second and third are kind of together, and because it was only a week apart, so we lost the belts and then we won them a week later. But the way we built it up for us to win at that Nate show, I believe it was Night of Champions.
Yep.
And oh man, that was just the way we built it up was incredible. And then just the match, that was my favorite match. Even though the Saddle Dome was my favorite show, that was my favorite match of the year. Was the Tornado Tag Submission match.
Yeah. Why is that? Just working with the league. Obviously, you've gotten to work with them for most of the opportunities you've talked about. You know, you make fun of my shirt. I think it's a great design, but you know, what do you enjoy about working with Davey O'Doyle and Braden Parsons?
You know what, man? It's just our chemistry with them is just like, it's on point. Just because we worked each other so many times, and that submission match, we were just firing on all cylinders, man. It was awesome. And the crowd was just going wild. I think they were going even more wild at that submission match than they were at the Saddle Dome. I mean, both reactions were great, like even when we won both. But just that submission match was just, oh man, when we both had them in the double submission and they're waiting to tap, and then when they tap and everyone just got wild, it was just, oh man, I can't forget that.
Absolutely, man. I wasn't lucky enough to come down to the Saddle Dome, but I was at the Nate show. And like you say, man, it was definitely one of the most fun shows I've had the opportunity to come out to as far as an indie fan goes, because like there's just something about every Nate show that the PWA puts on. But I just think that that year was absolutely incredible, man. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
everybody lived through it too. that was 2 years ago. You know, I wasn't scared that MRB was going to kill himself at that one.
Yeah, was that the one when he went through the ladder, like went like off the top, like Canadian Destroyer through the tables, or was it?
No, that was the marquee one. That was the marquee one.
Okay.
Because I might be wrong on that though.
No, wait,
No, you're correct.
No,
Night of Champions, weren't you? Because it might have been the year before. I don't think MRB tried to kill himself at this one.
Maybe, yeah, because.
Isn't it funny how that's sort of like the staple of how people judge wrestling events here? Is like, how likely was MRB to die?
Yeah. Well, don't say that, man. He's too good of a guy.
But, I know. I say it with love. That guy's got he's the most insane professional wrestler I know in the most complimentary way possible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, I got a fan question in for you. I didn't tell you about this one. Mike spoiled that he had one, but I was asked this one. I'm certain you're going to know as soon as I bring up the question. Tell me about the origins of the Bosnian Adonis.
Oh, God. Okay, so it was supposed to be like my first match ever. And I wasn't even like, I was just showing up to shows and trying to set up the ring, try to get my foot in the door at RCW. Like
the proverbial, like, keep your gear in the car?
Yeah, exactly. And someone got sick. And I can't remember who, but somebody got sick. And then they're like, do you have your gear? Because, like, me and Kato were kind of chaining around in the ring before, so they knew that I could at least wrestle, right? Yeah. Someone could carry me through a match. And they're like, we need to figure out a name for you. And, like, Vince Austin was like, you look Russian, man. You look Russian. Or I guess you look Russian by, like, you know. And I was like, well, I'm Bosnian, right? And like, we're just trying to figure out. So like, I initially like just used my grandfather's first name, and then I cut my last name in half because my last name is so long.
Yeah.
So that's how you get like Zadif Metovic or whatever. And then like, I needed kind of like a gimmick name, so they're just like, how about I think Squig said, how about the Bosnian Adonis? And I'm like, sure, throw it in there. And it's just like. And then when you look at like other Adonises, like I didn't look the part. Like there's a guy out in Vancouver named like what was his name again? Air Adonis, and the dude like is shredded and he's ripped. And I'm like, God, why am I even doing this? You know?
You got like even Dusty Adonis was running here still at this point. I'd have to assume. Sorry, Mike, you were cutting in.
At least you don't look like Adrian Adonis. Now.
Fair.
What was it like during that experience working with a mastermind? Yes, I'm going to have to say this because I know he'll call me out on it if I don't ask. How was it like working with Thaddeus Archer III starting out?
You know what? He had my back like as soon as I started because I guess he knew that I had potential that I didn't see like whatsoever. So he like put me in his little faction there, kind of like a Bobby Heenan type thing. And it was really fun.
I think I'm one of the few that have that shirt.
Yes. Can't believe people bought that, man. I'm sorry about that. Like,
ouch.
I got one here somewhere. I should have put it on, but
hang them in the background like Stanley Cup banners.
Although, like, the thing I can say about that faction, it was just like, in my opinion, it was just horribly booked. Like, there was no storylines with it, and like. There's nothing that made us seem like a faction to fear because there was just, you know, all of us were just losing, you know, like it wasn't necessarily, it was kind of like a very low scale of 3MB. Like we were just like, you know, just losing all the time. And then out of nowhere, I turned babyface. And that was when me and Thaddeus had a good time because now we're like kind of arch enemies because I kind of turned my back on Thaddeus. And then the storyline was kind of like, they were bringing in random people to try to beat me and see who could beat me. And then they got Leon Grayson to turn heel on me. And that was probably the best part of that was when we started feuding and not in the actual faction.
Well, cool. I would have to say my favorite moment of the whole time was when they brought in Sin Bodhi to take you on.
Yes, yeah.
I do remember there was a certain sledgehammer, some concrete blocks, and certain testicles of Mr. Archer.
That was awesome, yeah. I still think that was the most nervous I've ever been before a match. And I usually don't really get nervous, but that one was like, okay, it's Sid Bodhi, and I always do like this training with him before the shows because he came in a couple times beforehand, and he's just so brilliant. Like the way he describes everything in a wrestling match is just like, man, I'm not on this guy's level. So I remember freaking out. Like I probably would have been a year and a half into wrestling. 2 years,
So
not even.
Sort of like a bit of a prove yourself. Is that more
Absolutely.
why?
Yeah, yeah. And
Cool.
I was nervous, man. I was shaking. Like I'd love to do it. I love to do it now with the experience I have now in wrestling because I feel like it would be a way better match. I wouldn't be as like scared and nervous. But oh man.
Fair enough, man. Jesus, you hear sledgehammers, you hear all that sort of stuff. You're not a deathmatch guy, Aiden.
Oh no, Thaddeus is a deathmatch guy.
Oh shit, that was sad.
Yeah. So what happened was this was the coolest part. Sin Bodhi put me over, and then Thaddeus gets all mad at Sin Bodhi. Sin Bodhi hits him with something, and he's selling in the corner. And then we put a concrete block in between his junk, and Sin Bodhi hit it with a sledgehammer, and it broke. And just like the convulsions that Thaddeus was like performing was just incredible. Like, yeah.
You gotta love it, man.
He was on Devon Dudley level of convulsions there.
Yeah, just like I wish I could do it like as good as he can, but I can't. Like,
Oh man, but saying that, there aren't many as far as the role that he plays that are as good as Thaddeus goes. Period.
oh, absolutely.
There really aren't. Now, I like that you bring that up because one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, as far as just outside of your professional wrestling career, what is your favorite so bad it's good wrestling segment? Whether it's pro, whether it's something you've seen on the indies.
So bad it's good. Oh God, you should have like sent me this like a DM, but like a couple weeks ago or something. I would have. So bad it's good. Oh man, I'm trying to think. Like I know some so bad it's good movies, but in wrestling, it'd have to make me.
Well, then you know what? You can come back to that one. Let's transition over. So bad it's good movies. Then everybody's stuck indoors for the next little bit.
Yes. Bloodsport.
Never heard of that.
Van Damme. With Jean-Claude Van Damme. Oh my God. Okay, so it's about it's a like supposed true story, like quote unquote, like this guy was full of it.
Yes.
His name's Frank Dukes, and
Okay.
he claimed that he was winning some underground karate tournaments in China, and like it's called the Kumite, and just the movie is just incredible. The Jean-Claude Van Damme plays Frank Dukes, and the CIA's after him because he's supposed to be on a mission, but he's fighting at the Kumite, and it's just like
outstanding.
It's so incredible. And the best part was I saw like Rusev was cutting a promo, and he's wearing his shirt from the movie, and it's like the American guy going, "What the hell's a Dim Mac?" Which is like the death touch. So in the movie, and Frank Dukes claims he can do this, is that he can layer a stack of bricks.
Yeah.
And he can hit the top and blow up the bottom.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
But I'm sure it's never been caught on video.
Never.
We just got just to interrupt here. We just had a comment from the chat room. I don't know if this is so bad it's good movies or wrestling, but the Dogs of War was mentioned by Chad Coaley, the former Otto Allen.
Huh. Very cool.
The Dogs of War.
I don't know.
That was Cujo, Steven Styles, and Jesse Neal.
The Dogs of the War. I'm trying to remember who Otto Allen is. Like I feel like I heard that name.
He worked he worked some color with me for some CWC shows. So.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a Red Deer.
It sounds so familiar. Okay.
In addition to producing, Mike's role here is also to fact check both you and myself. It's a pretty sweet deal we've got here, to be quite honest with you. We're technically never wrong.
So while we're on this subject here, it runs perfectly into my question that I received here earlier, and this is from somebody. This is from actually next week's guest, who we won't spoil until the end of the show here. But you're talking about movies and TV and whatnot. I'll give you the explanation first. He says, if you don't make the right answer, you might have to be disowned as a friend and shunned in the locker room. So be prepared. Okay, which one do you prefer? The Green Ranger or the White Ranger?
Oh. I'm going to say white.
Oh!
Because the green was bad, and then he became good, and then somehow the token was destroyed, and he got a new token, and now he's the White Ranger. Because I only wear the White Ranger gear when it's a special match, which like I've only worn maybe twice. So.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I respect that answer. It's interesting you bring up your gear as well, because one thing that I did want to touch on, I know you and I have talked about it before, but I know it's a story that anybody watching will enjoy. How did the Above Average Joes come to be?
Oh, okay. So what happened was, I was in England, and I had this, I was in England for a month and a bit. And then when I came back, it was the Christmas Slam. Mm-hmm. And Kenny was in a match. Oh, we were all in a match, actually. It was like a 6 or 7 way. It was like a schmoz. And someone told, it was Jeff Tyler. Jeff Tyler told Kenny he was going to hit him with a snowplow. And Kenny just went, yeah, okay. And then, when we were all kind of separated, Kenny goes up to me, he's like, what the hell's a snowplow? Yeah.
Yeah, so, sure, but cool. What the fuck?
Yeah. So me and him sat down, and we YouTube snowplow, and it's kind of like a brainbuster body slam.
That was Al Snow's finisher or something, wasn't
it? Yes.
Okay, there we go. I know what you're talking about.
So we were sitting there, and I was wearing bright Green Ranger tights. This is my first match in them. They look so good when I see the photos of how how shiny they were, because I'm just so bad at upkeep where when I wash stuff, it just immediately loses its shine.
Are they the same ones you've got now still?
Yeah, just less shiny.
Okay.
And Kenny had his old
green pants.
Yes. And Kenny had his gear on, and Kurt kind of took a look and realized our gear was kind of matchy, and then he was the one that pitched the idea, and then we both accepted it, and then it was kind of the build up of how are we gonna do this tag team. And then we didn't even have a name yet. And then we had a match with MRB and BVD, and they put us over, and it was sweet. So it kind of established that, yeah, we were a tag team.
Yeah.
And then we were sitting there how are we going to figure out our name? And I don't know how. We were just going through names. How about Above Average Joes? Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of went on to that.
Absolutely, man. Now, were you ever planning to be, I know you mentioned that you were in factions before, but was there ever a conscious time where you were okay, I want to be in tag teams, or I want to be a singles wrestler, or has it basically just always been, I want to wrestle, put me wherever the hell you feel like putting me, just let me wrestle?
Yeah, at that point, I was doing a lot of singles when I was at before the Above Average Joes. I was doing a lot of singles, and then I had a feud with MRB in Calgary, so I did a lot of singles, and then there was kind of the ideas of, so I was in England and I came back, and then it was what's the plan, right? And initially I think it was supposed to be, I was gonna do a Commonwealth title run or something, or I could be wrong, or at least feud with Sean Moore when I came back or something, and then it ended up being the tag team that I've been in for 3 years now almost. So yeah. I think the tag team was a better run because it kind of separated me from the pack. Because I was just kind of random wrestler A. Right? I was just wrestling matches,
character number 3.
Right? Exactly. And then when I became a part of the Above Average Joes, it gave me a character as well, and it kind of helped me, because I was just kind of yeah, come on, let's go, babyface. And then I'm still kind of yeah, come on, let's go, babyface. But now it's a gimmick. So it's just.
So now there's someone doing it with me.
Yes.
I love it, man. And I know I speak for everybody. Again, it's not just blowing smoke, but there is absolutely no doubt, I'm sure I speak for a lot of people on this, that you guys are some of the most entertaining tag teams as far as professional wrestling goes in this province. What do you think it is that allows you guys to be so successful together?
Oh, man. Sometimes I got to put my ego in check here, because it's when the bell rings, all you hear is Joes. The Joes, yeah. Joes. I'm all right, we're over as hell. And to be honest, I just think it's the good matches that we pull off, and then the entertaining promos that we pull off on the Archer Report. It's just we kind of stand out in a way where we're not we're generic, but we're ironically generic, And I just think because Kenny was such an over babyface before this, that I kind of piggybacked on him a little bit. I'm catching all this shine that you're getting from the fans, right?
We'll take it.
Yeah, I was yeah, Kenny's popular, I'll take it. Yeah, sure.
Now, I do have to say, and it's something that I've said for a couple of years, so every year myself and Kyle Shaw, and guest to be named the day before, We figure it out. We do an Alberta Mania podcast doing like dream matches and all that sort of stuff. And for 2 years, man, 2 straight years, I've wanted to see you wrestle Kenny Stryker. And it's not anything malicious. But have you guys ever wrestled each other? And if not, do you see it coming down the line eventually?
I have had a match with him. It was a triple threat, me, him, and Frenetico. And it was when he was the Mayhem champion, and it was a show in Calgary. Mike, were you there? This is when MRB and Connie had a match with Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes. Did you drive down?
I didn't make it for that show, unfortunately. Oh no, wait.
Yes.
That was in February, right? It was
like a long weekend Sunday.
Yeah, it was.
I just remember that.
It was Family Day Sunday. That's what it was. Yeah, I actually was there for that.
Yeah. So it was that show, and it was a triple threat, and it was really fun. And then we've had like, I don't know if you've ever seen. Sometimes we'll just have like a random me and him in a gauntlet match or something. Me and him had a little bit of like a gauntlet kind of. We were in a gauntlet match, and I think I got a sunset pin on him, like a sunset flip or something. But and there was another match that we had where I think it was just 2 gauntlet matches, to be honest. But me and him, I think it's just really entertaining to see me and him face to face. And but our chemistry is just unreal. Like before the shows, we set up the ring and we'll try moves on each other and try to like see like will this work and will this work. And me and him have been in the training ring a couple times together down here in Calgary, and our chemistry is unreal. So down the road, I'd love to have a match with him, like a proper match of. If we're going 45 minutes trying to like just do us all the craziest shit possible, I would love to do that. Yeah.
Now the real question: who's the babyface?
Like in that supposed match that we're supposed to have.
You betcha.
Whew, that's a good question. That is honestly a good question.
I don't think I've ever watched you work heel before, to be honest with you. Have you? I'm sure you have on like shows before. But
my RCW days, I was a heel. And then at HIW, I was a heel, like when HIW was still a thing. And whenever I go out to BC, I was always a heel. So I have heel experience outside of Alberta, essentially. Like
it's on the resume.
Yeah. So I know how to work heel pretty good. And I think there was like a random match, like random town, PWA show in a random town where we just had to fill up spots. And then I had a match with Brett Morgan, like baby versus baby. We had to like kind of fill in a 6-man tag at the end, so I was heel for 1 match.
That was the that was one of the first shows in Onaway that we had.
It was Onaway, yes, that town.
Yeah,
like a hockey arena. It was sweet. So one PWA match, I've been a heel.
And picture it, we had a crowd of I'd say about 400 screaming kids in that venue that night, in the middle of a hockey arena that just vibrates.
Yeah.
Now, I remember that very well. Sorry to interrupt. I just remember I gave Brett Morgan a knee drop, and my knee pad was like slipped down to my ankle. Like my knee pad slipped all the way down, so I gave him a knee drop, and I landed like directly on my. Oh, yeah, good times.
Sorry, Brett Morgan.
No, it was like my opposite knee, like the knee I was landing on.
Okay. Sorry, Aiden Adams.
Yeah. Sorry, knee. This is why you buckle all the time.
Shit happens. Now, I know on the last podcast you and I did together, we talked a ton about your training, but just want to dig into it a little bit again for the people who haven't maybe been familiar with you as much as they should have been, damn it, by this point. But you trained at the Hart Brothers University. You trained with the Storm Wrestling Academy. Both obviously very big names in professional wrestling. So both obviously very good trainers. Maybe take me through the differences in going through both experiences.
It was more just like the era of wrestling they were a part of. And Bruce was very old school. Like everything that we did was like from like the 70s and 80s, and it would have worked really well in the 70s and 80s and all that kind of stuff. Like the way they did moves was just completely different that we do nowadays. Just, small things. And when I went with Lance, when I went to Lance, it was modern wrestling. It was the kind of stuff that you see on television nowadays. And it was kind of, it's like the term same but different, because there was just different things, like the way you took moves and the way you did moves and the way you just positioned yourself was completely different with Bruce than it was with Lance.
Yeah, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth here a little bit then, but it does sound like you preferred the way it worked with Storm a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely liked Storm's training a bit more. It would have. Sorry, I just got a message from a wrestler in the locker room saying "I love you," and I don't want to break kayfabe, but it's a heel. But
no!
Yeah.
Now a heel, for those of you not on the inside of the wrestling business, here is a bad guy.
Yeah, he's a bad guy. But so that totally took me off the topic I was talking about here. What was I going on about? Oh my god, I just talk all the time.
Your preference for training with Storm over the Hart Brothers University.
Yeah. Lance was 5 days a week from 9 to 2, I believe it was, or something like that. Like, it was long days, and it was 5 days a week compared to Bruce's once to twice a week, if that. You know what I mean? And not to kind of crap on Bruce, but he had a ring in his backyard, and he would show up late to training, and it was in his backyard.
Yeah, man, and especially when you mention even just on maybe not the content of what they're training, but just the repetition of what they're training. If you got the opportunity to get in the ring 5 days a week versus 2, I didn't do very well on statistics, but that statistically is at least 2 times more.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you were to hop back into professional wrestling again, or if you were to get a second chance at restarting your career, would there be anything that you perhaps changed or did differently?
You know what? I'm very happy with the way I broke into wrestling and the way I paid my dues. I don't know if I would change anything, 100%. I'm kind of happy where I'm at, and I was happy with the way I started.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I'd ever kind of change anything, to be honest. I was, really enjoyed myself so far.
Fair enough, man. It was something that I was surprised I didn't ask you in the first podcast, because I guarantee, dude, if I had 3 or 4 go-to questions, this was it. But as far as your decision to hop into the professional wrestling ring, did you always want to be a pro wrestler? Did you make the decision later? Did you make the transition from a different sport? What got you into really wanting to be a wrestler?
Yeah, I was always a fan. Hey, I always watched it from, since I was a kid. And at the time where I was kind of making that transition was, am I going to try to get a soccer scholarship? Because when I was younger, I was a high-level soccer player. You know what I mean? I played in Spain.
Okay.
And, well, I didn't play in Spain. I got sent to Spain to go at a tournament with a bunch of scouts and stuff. Nothing really happened of it, but I had these soccer aspirations. And when they were kind of on the decline, I was getting a little older. I was like, what am I really going to do? Because I always wanted to play sports for a living and stuff like that. And I started getting into weightlifting, so I started getting a bit bigger. And I remember it was I was watching an episode of TNA, and Rob Van Dam did the RVD, and the whole crowd did it. And I'm like, why don't I try this? Yeah, I was like, why don't I try this? I'm a good athlete. So I started pumping weights pretty heavy, because I saw that CM Punk weighed 218 pounds, what the ring announcer said. So I was like, I'm bulking up to 220 pounds. I had no neck when I was trying to get into wrestling.
Well, yeah, and if you're looking at the guy who at that time is pretty well the standard as far as pro wrestling goes, that's what you aim for.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I was like, I got to get to 220.
Mm-hmm.
So I did, but then I had no cardio. It was brilliant.
A man of extremes, Aiden Adams.
Yeah. It's either I'm really skinny with good cardio, or I'm thick with no cardio. I can't find my little middle part.
If you ever see Aiden Adams coming to the ring at 190, just know that he's right where he should be in the middle of everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what was it like having to organize with the Harts? You're the first individual that I've heard that mentioned a Hart Brothers University. Most people that have trained with the Harts have gone to the dungeon or individually found someone to train them, for lack of a better way to put it. Was it just a temporary school, or sort of what was the situation there?
It's actually a pretty long story. Do you got time, or?
Hell yeah, man.
So I wanted to get into wrestling, but then I saw that Lance was a year-long wait list. It was full to the brim, eh?
Yeah.
So some guy applied at my job. So for people that don't know, my Monday to Friday is our family business, stone and stucco masonry company.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a guy that applied that was very interested in working for us. And so I went to go meet him for an interview, give him an interview, and he ultimately didn't get the job. Nice enough guy though, but he told me he was a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he was just training or something. And I even have him on Facebook, and his like profile picture was like Cody Rhodes at the time. Like, so I was like, okay, he's into pro wrestling, and I'm like waiting. I'm like, okay, do I wait a year for Lance, or do I get into it now? And then like maybe down the road I'll go into Lance's or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked him like, hey, where do you train wrestling? And he's like, oh, I do like Greco-Roman, but at the same gym I do Greco-Roman at, Bruce Hart has his Hart Brothers University, and I just saw Harry Smith go by and train some guys.
Oh,
so I was
cool.
like, oh shit. So I sent them an email, and a fellow named Bob Johnson got back to me, and he called me saying, oh, come meet me at the gym where everyone was training at.
Yeah.
And so then I met Bob, and I met all those guys there. So Cameron Stevens from RCW was like a 14-year-old kid.
Holy
like,
shit.
Yeah. So like when I see Cam, I can't see him as the adult. Like I always still picture him as like the little 14-year-old or 15-year-old kid training with us. Hey, like
yeah. Oh man, that's so cool to hear, because like
so long ago.
Oh yeah, and like to be quite honest with you, it's kind of nice. So Kyle Shaw, he did a podcast with Cam recently, and it was kind of nice to hear because he moved to Newfoundland the better part of a year ago, at the very least, maybe if not more, and like he's been doing real well in Newfoundland, man. It's pretty cool to hear on that end.
Yeah, and he's getting pretty gimmicky out there. It's pretty sweet. Like this, like, I watched like a promo with him in a hot tub, and I was like, this is sweet. Like,
oh, it's awesome, man. It's absolutely awesome. You're a pretty well-traveled guy. Have you ever had the opportunity to get out there for a couple of matches, or?
No, the farthest I've been east is Manitoba, and it was like a Tony Condello show at a native reservation. It was called Wayway Sakapo.
Yeah.
And that was like the furthest east I've gone. And that's like right on the Manitoba-Saskatchewan border, if I remember correctly. It was like right there. That was the farthest east I've ever been.
That was you just did the first tour with Condello, didn't you? Or maybe not the first, but you did shows with Condello recently, right?
I've only done that one show for Condello. Like,
oh, okay.
That would have been oh, no worries. That would have been the first year I broke into wrestling. That would have been 2015 probably.
The Condello tour to me, man, like as far as pro wrestling goes, okay, any level of it has some sort of insanity to it. But like going and wrestling a match, okay, that's your basic pro wrestling. Doing a Condello tour sounds like right the hell up here, man. Is that ever something you'd be interested in?
I have been interested, but I've never done it. And I think the one thing that kind of steers me away is because Slammer goes all the time, and then Slammer like immediately calls me when he comes back, and he just sounds like he's been like, I don't want to say COVID, but like he's going, hey man,
hey friend, everything was terrible with me. How are you?
Yeah. So like I feel like everybody just gets sick, and I'm like, I don't really have any interest in getting sick, you know.
No, but I completely get it, man. I completely get it. Now, to completely pivot again, because like I said, I just like asking questions. There's no rhyme or reason to them. You brought up the Power Rangers a couple of times, so I may answer this question for you, or you may have already, but what is your favorite 90s cartoon?
Oh, man. That's a tough one, because...
I know, man. It's...
I will say that, like, I'm not very proud of it. I'm kind of like a kid with a tablet nowadays. I watch television so much.
Oh, dude, you and I both.
To think of cartoons, honestly, I watched a lot of Bloodsport as a kid. Like, I know that sounds bad, but like,
I only like Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Absolutely, I would say Jean-Claude Van Damme, and like more Jean-Claude Van Damme. You know, I remember just like my childhood. I remember very vividly was Bloodsport and Street Fighter. Like the movie. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like I remember watching those on repeat all the time. But the first thing that pops to my mind as a kid, I watched Pokemon a lot. So that was probably,
hell yeah, man.
That was probably the cartoon I remember, like being in kindergarten and then rushing home from kindergarten to turn on Pokemon
Shit like YTV The Zone, man. I still remember that.
Yes. What's that show? With Wink Yahoo.
Oh man, that is like still. If I was a betting man, Aiden Adams, I would put money on maybe like a Netflix revival or like a Disney Plus revival. I will almost guarantee though, like in the next say 2 years, we're gonna see something along those lines because like
yeah.
It just seems like it's getting mentioned more and more often lately. Not like a revival, but more and more often. I hear people who are like, "You remember Uh-Oh?" It's like, yeah, fuck yeah, I remember Uh-Oh. Of course I remember Uh-Oh. I am a man of style and class.
Yeah. I just remember the hair. Like, it was like Johnny Bravo, but real life.
Oh, it was great. And if you've got, we picked up a new TV 7 months ago or so, and we've got like the YouTube app directly put on it. They've got full episodes of Uh-Oh on YouTube. So if you've got the opportunity, man, they're there for the taking.
I'll definitely do that. Yeah, 100%.
Big time, man. It's getting dangerous. I've got that. Like, we picked up Disney Plus, same sort of thing, like 7 months ago. So I ripped through Gargoyles. We ripped through Recess. Like, everything is just getting... God. It's all just getting taken down. You mentioned Pokemon, though. Have you played the new games at all?
No, I haven't. Like, honestly, I don't think I've played any Pokemon games since, like, Pokemon Sapphire, like, from, like, 2004. That was probably
not a Pokemon Go guy?
So, I have a friend that I went to high school with, and she lives in Airdrie, like, where I live. And I went to her house for, like, I guess, like, they just moved. Her and her boyfriend moved in. And they're like, you gotta get Pokemon Go. So I got it for, like, a day and deleted it. Like, just not for me, you know.
Dude, I was so addicted for the first couple of months, and then they send you the phone bill, and like, oh my god, I spent how much on data?
Yeah, like 5 gigs just walking around. Like,
oh man, it's horrible. Now, I won't ask you to name a favorite. I don't like asking people to pick favorites because that's just a pain in the ass for pretty well anything. But if you were to give a few of your favorite Pokemon, who would they be?
Oh, jeez, because I'm probably have to go to like the first gen because like I don't know.
That's not only fine, that's like encouraged for the most part. I think the first three for me were like the golden age, and I quite enjoy the rest of them, don't get me wrong, but like the first 3 generations were just pristine.
Absolutely. I'm gonna have to go Mewtwo for one of them because I remember like in that Pokemon movie, like Pokemon 2000, I think it was called. Like,
yep,
he made his like debut, and I was like, holy you know what I mean? Like,
right, dude. Oh man.
I think I'm gonna have to say Pikachu for one of them because I remember there was an episode when I was like 4 or 5 years old. Pikachu and Ash like split apart for like an episode. Like Pikachu wanted to be with the other Pikachu or whatever.
Yep.
Kind of go with his herd. And I remember crying my ass off.
Oh yeah.
And my mom's going, what's wrong? And I'm like, Pikachu and Ash split up. Mom's like, yeah, okay. Like, kind of turned around. Like, all right.
So get this shit, man. Like, I fell into sort of a YouTube wormhole or whatever you want to call them over the last little bit. So I was watching like Pokemon clips from the new series because, like, I'm sure you've heard Ash finally became a champion after 23 years or something like that. So I was going through and just like, sorry, go ahead.
He's got to be the oldest 10-year-old I've ever seen. Like,
that's what everybody wants. I saw a meme going around. It's like, this is what employees are looking for a 10-year-old with 20-something years experience.
Absolutely.
But so I was going through the wormhole of Pokemon clips, and did you know that Jesse and James, like, not abandoned, but they gave up Arbok and Weezing?
Really? Like,
yeah.
And they gave him up. Hey, they're like, you guys aren't doing the job.
Well, no. So sort of like same sort of way that like Ash got rid of his Charizard very stupidly, but got rid of him nonetheless for the better of the Pokemon is they had Weezing and Arbok, not Ekans. There was a group that was getting hunted by a Pokemon poacher, so they left them with them. Yeah, there's another one. I cried recently to Pokemon, dude.
No shame. All right,
no.
Don't be ashamed of that.
No, none whatsoever. Now, we're getting closer to wrapping her up here on the show, dude, so I want to thank you once again for hopping on. It's always a blast to get to shoot the shit with you. Like, you know, we talk about pro wrestling, we talk about Pokemon. It's basically a best of both worlds, man.
Mike's got a question here.
Absolutely. Michael, you want to hop in?
Yeah, just from the chat room, and this is coming from Chris Parrish, just states that Aiden Adams, outside of one of the nicest guys in the locker room, is one of the most overlooked talents in my eyes.
Oh, thanks, Parrish.
You're gonna get diabetes.
He didn't mention that I made him puke drinking like a couple months ago here. Like right before.
Oh, okay. No, we need story time now. Sorry, Parrish.
Love you, Parrish. It was a PPW show, and we all went to Ken Stevens' house after the drink. Mm-hmm. And Chris Parrish, who probably only drinks beer, I don't think he ever drinks hard alcohol much. And we just made him take shots. Like Hal Sebastian got one of those like Costco-sized Kirkland whiskeys. Massive. And we almost finished the whole thing. Like I wish I knew how big the ounces it was. But it was huge. And maybe a 60, I think that's what it's called. It was huge. And I remember we were all taking just like shots. And I remember Parrish saying, I don't take shots, guys. And we're just like, you're taking shots with us. And then I just remember, I don't think anyone noticed but me, but Parrish taking that shot and then puking in the sink like after a couple of
He didn't even get the Irish accent out of it because, like, I have to admit, man, like, him and I, we've had our fair share of individual times drinking together. He's got a much higher capacity than I do.
He does have a good tolerance.
Oh, man, he's much better than I am. But, like, we're in the same sort of boat as, like, I don't take shots either. I would have at least tried to make the Irish accent. I'm a little proud of him, to be quite honest with you.
Because it happened so quickly. Like, it probably hit, like, a bad gag reflex or something. And all three of us were just, like, pretty drunk at this point that, like, no one was paying attention.
Yeah.
So I was the only one because I was the one kind of facing directly to Parrish.
Yeah.
So the other guys were kind of staring at me. So when Parrish went to the back and he's puking, I'm the only one noticing. And I hope I didn't, like, call him out for it, but I just remember him, like, puking his guts out a little bit for, like, half a second. And
that's okay, man.
And he didn't stop or anything.
Trust me, I appreciate you calling him out for something like this. I need any kind of fire with him I can get.
Mike, ain't that the truth, man? Ain't that the truth as far as it goes for you and I? But
I will put him over to say that he continued and he did not stop.
No,
that was a speed bump. And then he just kept going. Yeah.
A salute to him, man. That's absolutely hilarious. Although I can't say I won't hold it against him every so often. But hopefully, man, sooner rather than later, when this COVID shit is all over, we can all do the same thing once again. Aiden, it's been great to have you on here, man. We are just about wrapped up, so you know me, man. I always like to make sure that you get the opportunity to plug where people can keep track of you, where people can find you, whether it's wrestling, which I know isn't the case for the near future, but just on social media if they want to keep track with the above average Aiden Adams.
Yeah, just follow me on Twitter at Aiden Wrestles. I try to keep my Facebook and my Instagram kind of to my private life with a couple of wrestling photos, but fans will always somehow manage to find that anyways. But if you're interested in my life, yeah, Aiden Wrestles on Twitter. Yeah. And I always just share every event I have and any cool gifts that I find of me wrestling, I usually share it on that too. So
110%, man. As you should. That's all it takes to get people somewhere, like at this point, right? You see something cool online, like blow it up. You're good to go.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Mike, any final thoughts from you before we close it out, my friend?
No, thanks, Aiden, for coming on to the show this week. But I do have one question, but mind if I save it till after we announce our special guest for next week?
Announce it.
All right.
Let's get this going.
All right.
Do we have a clip or do I have to actually announce them?
No, I got the video here, so... Here goes.
Nice. Look how professional this is. Hold on. I've always wanted to do this, and I'll never get to wrestle. Roll the footage.
Roll the clip.
Hey, Vampire Nation. It's the Omen here. Backbreaker Media, as well as Win Column Sports have something lined up for you as they go live with me on Thursday, May 21st, 8 p.m. Mountain Time on Facebook Live, Twitch, and YouTube. Come check it out.
I heard that.
All right, folks, we got an interview with the Vampire Wow, that music is loud. I got to work on that for this video here. But we have an interview with the Vampire next Thursday, 8 p.m. Mountain, 9 p.m. Central for our Saskatchewan friends who are watching, 10 p.m. Eastern. Now, Mr. Adams, since you are officially ostracized from the PWA locker room because you picked the White Ranger over the Green Ranger, I didn't tell you what the answer was. Unfortunately, you said wrong, apparently. Do you have any Do you have any words for the Omen here? Or any thoughts on the Omen?
We'll do better next time.
Next time we will make a stronger effort, man.
Can I join on the interview next week too, and we'll have like a four-way here?
Mr. Omen, we wanted to ask you, why did it have to be the Green Ranger? That's what we'll start it off with, man.
It's very green. So that's
Well, my friend, I don't think we'll find a funnier note at the very least to take it off of, and I'm not going to spend time trying to find a better one. It was great to have you on here, my friend. I thoroughly appreciate it. I cannot wait until we finally get to see you wrestle again, share a beverage together, and have you on the show in the near future, dude. Thanks once again. Thank you, the fans, for tuning in. As I like to say here, the winner was you, the fans, despite how much fun I got to have. It's always great for you guys to get to find out a little bit more about the professional wrestling we've got here above the 49th parallel and bringing you one of the best of the best. I'm fully confident that you got the benefit as far as this goes. Once again, big thanks to our guest, Aiden Adams. I'm going to let our friend Mike the Ref close it out here. But once again, tune in next Thursday at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. I've got my interview with the Vampire, the Omen Gabriel. Mike, I'm going to throw it back to you to close it out.
All right. Well, I just threw up what's coming up this week on the network. Coming up this Saturday is our latest edition of CWC Evolution. I do believe that involves a triple threat tag team match, or triple threat match for the CWC Championship in a tables match between Chris Parrish, Jude Dawkins, and a mystery that shows up halfway through the match. We will get to that when we get there. Make sure you check it out on the YouTube page. And then on Sunday, you have the Monster Pro Wrestling Virtual Madness, hosted by Rick Jules, Blake Cannon, Privileged James Crowder. Don't forget Boo Busty Blake, whenever possible. That'll be simulcast on the Backbreaker Media Twitch channel. And then our last CWC Evolution currently, I'm working on some others, will be coming up this Tuesday, followed up by coming up on the Thursday, the 21st, with our Conversations with Love live, the interview with the Vampire, the Gabriel Omen. But after that long speech, on behalf of our guest, Aiden Adams, and our host, Spencer Love, this is Mike the Ref Maloney saying thank you for joining us here on Conversations with Love Live.
Alberta is blessed with a wide variety of high-quality sports, rich with talented athletes and successful franchises in all levels in any sport. We aim to tell those stories. The Win Column Sports Network was created with one goal in mind: providing professional level coverage of semi-professional franchises, athletes, and organizations in Edmonton. We believe Edmonton can stand proudly behind our moniker of the City of Champions. This city has been home to multiple AJHL championships, a two-time WCBL semifinalist, numerous WWE signed independent wrestlers, and many more success stories.
This is Shane Hurricane Helms.
Hey guys, this is TJ Wilson, aka Tyson Kidd.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Almighty Christopher Daniels.
Stories you can only find on the Win Column Sports Network.